We're running a little bit late, but just please hold your coffee break just for a little bit longer. What I'm going to do now, we're going to have a panel discussion just to ask a few questions, maybe give you the chance as well to ask a question or two of our illustrious panel that's going to come up now. We have Hanu, who you know already, who gave us a presentation. We have Mario from Croatia Ministry of Interior, and we have Christo from Sasol Shared Services, who also have a TETRA network in oil and gas. So you probably recognized one or two of the services from the previous presentation. Okay, so I'll kick off with the first question, just to give you a very quick chance to introduce your networks and some of the, we'll get Christo. You've probably got quite a loud voice, have you? We'll start with Mario then. Just for Mario and Christo can just give us a very brief introduction to their networks and some of the applications that are running over those. So Mario,
okay.
Can you start?
Thank you, Peter. Well, hello everyone. I come from Croatian Ministry of Interior, and our network is primarily used by our police, but we have plans also to expand that to emergency and other public safety. And just recently we started to implementing new data applications. That's why we are going to discuss this today.
Yep, okay, Christo, please.
Peter, yes, we have a refinery as well. Actually, we have now 2 systems running. The last one came online this year in March. We have 12 base stations in the one area and 4 base stations in our other area. The one where on the 12 base stations we have approximately 5,000 users, and then we have about 1,500 in the other plant. Geographically, areas that we cover is quite big. It's about 45 kilometers by 45 kilometers in the one instance with the 12 base stations. And we only use about 20% of our installed capacity. We also make around, just relating to the previous speaker, we're also making it at around 33,000 calls on a normal day. And in our shutdown, where there is high maintenance periods, we have gone up to 56,000 individual calls or group calls per day, which is, and the system is working perfectly. Some of our base stations did go down, but the users didn't even know that because of the resilience in TETRA.
Okay, looks like the sun's come out here in Dubai and it's come inside as well. But Hanu, just very, very quickly, I mean, you did explain in your presentation, but just very, very briefly, just explain to us the more popular applications that are being used currently over TETRA.
I think the main point here is that if we look at the users of TETRA, they have all kinds of different needs. So the application for different users are always a bit different because it has to match exactly the operations of that industry or public safety organization or something. So what we are trying to do at the TETRA and Critical Communications Association, the applications working group, is try to help people utilize the data features of TETRA and use them as effectively as possible, and to really get the data benefits out of TETRA. But the individual solutions are typically different for everybody. Well, AVL is a common application. See where people are, but the data, and then you have connect to your IT systems, whatever you may have, communication between people, task management, messaging. So there's a lot of possibilities, and there is something for everybody.
Yeah, that's it. I think TETRA now is becoming a very mature technology. So many users buy thinking about voice replacement, but they actually find that data is being used more and more. I'd like to maybe split the next question up into 2. So for maybe Mario and Christo can just explain very briefly the data that is running currently over their network. And then in a second part, maybe if there are 1 or 2 applications that could be restricted over a narrowband network. So maybe
Okay.
Mario, if you would like to start.
So at the moment we're using, for example, data queries through SDS on TETRA, which is proved to be very well, because I believe the main advantage with TETRA is its reliability. And by using SDS, SDS is very fast, very robust, you can rely on it, it's always working. The main thing that always is raised is people ask me how many characters you can transfer and so on and so on. But I believe the main issue is the information that you transfer through the SDS. And a great example could be, for example, status messages. So we have some numbers which have their meanings. And we, by that, we carry some mission critical information.
Yeah. So your users are happy at the moment with the data applications that
At the
they have?
moment, yes.
Yeah.
At the moment, yes, we started very recently with that. So we are still waiting for user to say, okay, this is nice, now we want some more, and that we'll see in the future.
Okay, thank you, Mario. Christo, maybe some additional comments.
Yes, Peter. From our side, we are currently using alarm monitoring of all our 16 installed base stations, where we're monitoring the electricity use and the temperatures inside, because that has maintenance implications to our equipment. And it is working perfectly with the SDS, because the SDS is very efficient means of data transfer. And what Mario also said was, the SDS, you can have more than one to make up a bigger message. If you look at the web applications, you have to have a lot of tin plating and your messages gets longer and it's wasting your bandwidth. Whilst the SDS, you have very efficient transfer of data. So we prefer to use that, and that can take us a very, very far way, a long way.
Okay, so you feel that at the moment TETRA is providing you with sufficient bandwidth for your data applications?
Currently it is, yes, and we are working on 2 more pilots for data applications, which will most probably also use the SDS because of the efficiency. And it depends on the way you do your application and develop your application. You can have a lot of bandwidth on your TETRA network, and if you look at the usage, the Erlang usage, there's a long way to go before we can expire all our capacity.
Yeah, Hannu, are we starting to see certain kinds of users now who are requiring kind of additional services, additional bandwidth beyond TETRA, and maybe existing TETRA users who are now kind of hoping or expecting to get some more, and how can we as a community maybe manage existing expectations but also kind of lead them into a bright new future?
Okay, that's a hard question. But I think I want to kind of point out one very interesting thing from their things. One thing that you can do is that you can use the TETRA system as efficiently as possible. And many people have seen that using SDS, this is basically text messaging on the network, is actually really good for database applications and other applications. So when you are thinking about your applications, also look at the other features than IP packet data on the TETRA network, because they are really nice and they are very effective. So you will be able to do more with more database access with text messaging than with packet data in practice. And I think these were good examples. And I think then the main point about moving forward is how do we stay on the mission critical application side? Because if you are in the mission critical business and you want to use the application to get the benefits of efficiency and others, they have to be available at all times. So when you add other networks, you add TETRA 2 or you add LTE or something, you have to always think about this mission critical aspect. You can use non-mission critical networks for extending the application, but the core functionality has to be on the mission critical network. And as we heard, we can do a lot with TETRA. So actually, even if you deploy some other network for some nice to have applications, if you keep your mission critical application on TETRA, then you can really rely on it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Hannu. Mario, do you have kind of some idea of kind of moving forward, some future scenarios maybe for emergency service?
As we spoke yesterday, and you mentioned once, what about video? Is video mission critical? Will it become mission critical? By my opinion, video will be mission critical at the moment when we will have some reliable network, so we can at all time, in the way as we do now with simple data applications on our TETRA 1 networks, when we could transfer that video, for example, to a patrol car at all times, so it will be reliable and robust, just as is TETRA 1 now. At that moment, video definitely will be mission critical application, and user will ask for it, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Mario. Do you have something to add on that, Krista? You would like lots of video in your refinery?
If I ask the fire chief, he will tell me yes. If I ask the security chief, he will tell me he wants voice. But from an operations point of view, we will work more on the SCADA applications, because there's a lot that we can do because of the wide area coverage that we have. And then there's another application, and that is in the business, in the support services for the operations. There's a whole lot of applications that can be done there, also happening in the wide area, that will be beneficial and make the people more efficient on the ground for the field workers supporting operations. So that is the two places where I am going to concentrate in the next year or two in terms of applications, because I can build very good business cases there and prove that it works.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Krista. I'm aware that we've kind of run over time, but I would like to give the opportunity to somebody here to ask a question if they have one. Yes, here we have the question. So this is the surprise element for our panel now.
I think, firstly, just an observation that there's really a merging of different technologies that are used to bring information to the field. And I know that we're looking at the association now being TETRA and Critical Communications Association. Do you see this changing somewhere in the future where the media is not only TETRA broadband, but you include P25, EDAX, because you've got a whole host of media, and we're moving really more into an RT age, and we'll be talking about merged data platforms, merged interfaces, unified interfaces for operations, and it just looks like there's a whole change in how the future is going to roll out for not only TETRA but other media.
I think we're moving now away from a specific network and a specific technology more towards solutions. And Hannu is in charge of our applications group, so he's an important figure in kind of trying to work out how we move towards a more applications, solutions-friendly kind of integrated environment. So I'll allow you to make a few comments on that.
I think if you look at the activities in the TCCA broadband group, which is now the group that is driving this movement to these broadband networks, so actually we include, the broadband group is talking with P25, with DMR people, with LTE people, because we see that the important thing is to serve this community of users. TETRA has done and will do for the next 20, 30 years or maybe longer really good service, but we see that there is a real need in this community for also broadband services, and so we are trying to make it happen in the way that those broadband services are suitable for mission and business critical users, but there is a lot of cooperation. So maybe a few years ago people thought that TETRA is fighting P25 and so on. On the commercial side, there is competition, which is good for everybody, but on this broadband initiative, everybody is working together. We have all the PMR technologies, all the broadband technologies, and we try to find the solution that will serve the users. And especially the broadband group now in the TCCA is really spearheading this activity and working together with all of these other players.
Yeah, we're seeing a kind of convergence of all of the platforms, and we have to kind of be aware of that convergence and play an important role in that convergence, because as everybody has mentioned, communications is critical and will remain critical in the future. So particularly these, do you want to make some final comments?
More or less, I agree with what Hanu said. I can say from our point of view, we are using TETRA, and it's not likely that we will change that in some recent future. So we're stuck with it.
But there will be, you would be interested in going forward how
Definitely.
you would be able to integrate your TETRA network with other solutions.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Because if there is some new standard network, I don't know, whatever it is, that can give us more data, of course, we'll accept it.
And this is also very important because there are lots of different technologies, but I think what we're looking at a fairly common vision here, that we have to kind of work together to get the level of interoperability, to get the common services out to professional users. So, Krista?
Peter, I attended in September last year the PMR conference in Spain. And it was also interesting there to see that all the digital media and the digital PMR people that was there were also developing applications for them on their protocols. But since all of these things eventually boils down to a TCP IP, the integration will be there in future.
Yep, the world is IP. So, do we have another final question? Yes? Yeah, we've still got time for our lollipops as well. So.
Yeah, since you people have some experience in the data application on TETRA, and we are trying to try out some data services on TETRA. I want to ask you this question. Is there any thumb rule that if you put several RTUs in a base station, particular base station, you need to have some minimum number of carriers allotted to that base station so that it doesn't congest the normal voice operation? Is there anything like, because we are still trying to learn that ourselves, we're trying to do some field trials, but we're not very certain what will happen when there is too much of, we populate it and scale up the RTUs, you put several RTUs to the same base station, and then will that, can you throw some light on that? Is there any kind of thumb rule?
Are any of us able to answer that question?
Let me try. What we have seen is the efficiency in which we can, when you use the SDS. So you don't have to really enhance your base station unless, and I've looked at your example, you have almost 5,000 users. I think 5,000 users. You have 12 channels or carriers. You have more than enough capacity to put a lot of RTUs on your system because of the efficiency that you get with the SDS. But you can also monitor it. You have all the network tools to monitor. But I don't have a rule of thumb. I think the best way is to measure. And if you measure, you can know and predict. But in our system, it's so low, the impact. We have seen up to 10 million SDSs per month going onto our system, and there's absolutely no influence on the capacity of the system and the utilization of the time slots. And we only have 4 channels in our base stations, and we have 4 base stations in the main plant. So you're safe, if you ask me.
Yep. So thank you very much, Hanu, Maria, and Krista. Do you want? Yep. You get your lollipop now. Would you like a lollipop?
Yeah, thanks.
Something? You've
Thanks,
probably got
Peter.
very dry mouths at the moment. And I would like to thank all of you as well for your patience. I thought it was only fair that everybody would get a fair crack of the whip with their presentation, so we have overrun a little bit, but now you can go and get some very well-earned coffee, and we will be back here at 11:20. Okay, thank you very much. And there are some excellent presentations after the break, so don't disappear.